What is up, Mets'd listeners? Here we are again, back with another episode of the Mets'd podcast. Episode number 43, just finished a series up with the Los Angeles Dodgers, 4-game series, and as the Mets have been doing recently, didn't play very well. Didn't win many games. We did win one, but that's still not very many. We expect a little bit more from a team that we had higher hopes for, so me and James, of course, going to go through everything. Me, Draft Mark Luino, James Jeter had no range, James Shiano, that's his name. I don't know why that was so weird. That was uncomfortably awkward. But hey, it's because the Mets are playing uncomfortably awkward baseball. It's just not very good. Not very good. Going to talk about the entire series. Going to talk about the preview of the Giants series and just kind of how it feels in Mets land right now, because I feel like everybody's in a really weird spot where we don't know how to feel. We don't know what our vibe should be. Is the season over? Do the Mets have a chance? What's the thoughts for next year? We'll talk about that all today here on episode number 43 of the Mets'd podcast. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram at Mets'd, especially because on Twitter, we have a giveaway of a Marcus Stroman Topps Tribute Stamp of Approval card. Yeah, this is a game-worn jersey. Fun fact, this is from when he pitched against the Braves on the Mets through 6 or 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, got the win. You can check that out. We're giving it away on our Twitter at Mets'd, so make sure you're following us over there, as well as if you want to watch a video version of this podcast, which you guys have been doing amazingly, by the way. We're doing awesome on the YouTube channel. Mets'd on YouTube, you'll find us. James is currently outside in the woods in Utah recording this podcast, so it is going to be an interesting one for sure. And also, make sure you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Drop us a rating, drop us a review. We appreciate everybody who did in the last episode. Really does help us out. Continue the amazing support. So that's probably my longest intro there, James. Time to bring you in. How you doing?
Yeah, that was a pretty long intro. But again, shout out to listeners. You guys got us to 100 ratings and reviews on Apple. That's really cool. Love hearing the feedback that you guys give. Keep sending reviews. If anyone says anything really funny, we'll 100% shout you out and just laugh about it on the show. And also, as Mark said, I am out in the suburbs of Utah, not exactly the woods. Mark thinks everything is the woods once you leave like New York and New Jersey. But if there's like a dog barking or a child screaming or a lawnmower mowing, just bear with me. I'm traveling. Don't have my usual facilities, and I'm just enjoying the great outdoors because we only have a little bit of summer left. A little bit of summer left because we're about to enter September baseball, and the Mets, we're unsure if the Mets are going to be playing competitive games as we get to this stretch here.
Yeah, we just kind of suck. Like, there's just no way around it. This team just kind of sucks right now, and do I think that this team is bad? No. I mean, you guys have listened to 42 episodes of us talk about the Mets. We had very high hopes, and there were good reason to have that. But there's something clearly fundamentally wrong with how this team approaches hitting, and it continued in this Dodgers series, and it got started in game 1, where again, while our pitching wasn't as awesome as it has been, we still can't score runs. That's what it comes down to every single time. But Taijuan, he scrapped.
Yeah, Taijuan kind of returned to the form that he was in for the last month, where he was like, something was wrong, but he still worked really hard. And that's just the Bulldog mentality we've come to expect out of Taijuan. He only gave up 4 runs against the Dodgers, and he like juiced out 6 innings when really didn't seem like he had the stuff to get there when the game started. A weird development is that he's basically now totally scrapped his 2-seam fastball. There's a scream from a child as we're in the backyard here. He's basically totally scrapped his 2-seam fastball in favor of a 4-seamer. He threw 42 4-seamers on Thursday night as opposed to just 13 2-seamers, which is such a complete 180 from the Taijuan that was pitching really well in May and June. And it was fine. Like, the 4-seamer now ran the 2-seamer role by not getting any whiffs, but getting a lot of called strikes. And the 2-seamer still got a lot of called strikes on being thrown much less. More than half of the pitches that were thrown wound up being a called strike. So I kind of hope there's a way that Taijuan can marry these 2 fastballs and create like an all-powerful repertoire of different types of fastballs rather than just throwing like 75% fastballs in a game. But otherwise, like, he wasn't sharp with the breaking stuff either. Like, his slider had no bite at all. You can kind of see it on television. It had 4 inches less horizontal break than his season's average. And the Dodgers are just a good hitting team. Like, if you're not sharp, they're going to jump on you, and that's what they did.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Like, Taijuan, the combination of him being a little bit off his game, and this is now, the second start of his last few that he's gone up against the Dodgers. They're going to hit you. That lineup is just simply way too talented to not score some runs. But that being said, the Mets had every opportunity in this game to score runs. We went up against the Dodgers bullpen, which was like a little beleaguered. I mean, they threw Evan Phillips. Again, create a player. Who is that guy?
Who the fuck is Evan Phillips? I wanted Evan Phillips to get the fuck off my TV screen. I couldn't stand watching this guy get the Mets out. It was so damn annoying. And also because, like, these weren't good relievers pitching. It was Evan Phillips, I don't even remember. I think Corey Knebel might have started, who's
He
like
did,
fine.
yeah, he was the opener.
Yeah. Vesia might have pitched, Brule might have pitched, and we were getting the bat on the ball at will. The Mets only struck out 5 times through the first 8 innings of this game before Blake Treinen struck out the side in the ninth, because he's disgusting. I'm not going to, no Blake Treinen slander on this podcast, but even with those only 5 strikeouts in 8 innings, we had 12 hard hit balls. Like, this was the game that we don't want to hear the Mets talk about, where a lot of balls were just finding gloves. And it wasn't great, but it was just fucking sucked.
It just felt very Mets-like. The one time we actually are hitting the ball hard, it's just going into gloves. That being said, we still are having some guys in that game that weren't playing well, and this was kind of a theme of this series up until maybe the last few at-bats of the last few games. But Dom and McNeil struggle bus big time. I mean, McNeil, I know at one point I think was 4 for his last 42, and I even put out a tweet on Twitter talking about how bad it's been. And here's a little perspective for you guys. So McNeil, we love him. Jeff's our guy. We know he's a good ball player, but he hits the ball on the ground too much, and I don't think that's any kind of surprise to anybody. If you've watched him play, he kind of lives on the ground. Whether you agree or disagree with it, here's what you need to know. Against the Dodgers and the Giants in these last 3 series, he is 3 for 35 at one point. That was up until yesterday. He was 3 for 35. 18 of the 26 balls that he put into play were on the ground. So that's a shockingly high rate of ground balls to begin with. Insanely. Yeah, way too high. 0 of which, big fat goose egg, resulted in a hit. If you ever wanted to know why hitting the ball on the ground is so significantly worse than hitting the ball in the air, look at these 3 series and Jeff McNeil's at bats. It is almost impossible to get a hit on a ball on the ground to begin with. It is very impossible to do it against the Dodgers and Giants, who shift among the highest in all of Major League Baseball against left-handed hitters. And the Dodgers have the 4th lowest WOBA against left-handed hitter shifts. Giants have 6th lowest. I mean, it's just, if you ever wanted to understand why people do get so worked up about hitting the ball in the air or the launch angle swing, which is like so cringe to say, but that's what people know it as, this is why. You just cannot be a successful baseball player when you're constantly hitting the ball on the ground. I mean, 18 of 26 balls in play. That's unbelievably high.
And then even to put the Dodgers' shifting acumen more into perspective, over the last 3 seasons, they have one of the lowest batting averages against and WOBAs against on balls on the ground. 2019, it was 214. 2020, it was 210. And this year is 221. Their WOBAs, again, respectively with those years, are 192, 194, and 201. You're not going to have production against the Dodgers if you're putting the ball on the ground. And that's a lot of what happened to Jeff McNeil in this series. And the last one.
Of course, it's kind of been the thing with McNeil this year. He's getting caught in between this player where it's like, okay, I'm the super aggressive, slap the ball around the yard guy, but then you come up against good teams and it just doesn't work. Or he goes into that mode where he's trying to hit home runs and his average does plummet and he's not as consistent and he's getting a little upset because he's not getting those hits. He's in a weird spot. I will say at least he did finish the series strong, had some good at-bats in Game 3 to end it, and some good at-bats in Game 4. So Jeff is looking better.
He won at bat in Game 4.
Oh, okay.
Right? Did he pinch hit?
Did Jeff pinch hit?
I'm almost positive.
Oh, yeah, he did pinch hit. He did pinch hit because he came into the outfield. But anyway, his at-bats to end the series were significantly better than what we saw at the beginning of it, starting to lift the ball a little bit more. You got to do that to be successful. There's a reason why it's important.
100%. And I think that we've kind of seen Jeff McNeil be caught in between these 2 types of players for a few years now. And kind of, I don't know whether it's intentional or whether it's on accident or whether it's like some type of self-conscious bias where he wants to be a certain type of player. I've mentioned this on the show before, but Alex Bregman talked about this at length a few years ago. Right before his screaming children. Alex Bregman talked about this at length a few years ago, just before his MVP 2019, where his batting average dropped significantly, but his power was off the charts. And reporter asked him, like, you're not the 320 guy we came to be used to with you in the first couple of years in the league. And he was like, people don't pay for that.
It's true.
Hitting home runs earns money. If you want to earn money in arbitration as a free agent, you really have to be able to put the ball out of the yard a significant amount. And I don't know whether this is something that Jeff is... I know it's something he's aware of, but I don't know whether it's something that he's making a conscious effort to do and whether or not that's detracting from his actual talent as more of a slap singles hitter.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like he's super caught in between, maybe doesn't know what to do, maybe is trying to do everything, and that's what's causing the issues here. All I know is Jeff McNeil cannot wait to stop playing the Dodgers and Giants because his average will automatically go up by just not playing them. They're just one of the toughest teams to hit the ball on the ground against. That being said, the other guy we talked about before as well, grouped in here, was Dom Smith. I wish I had an answer for why Dom's not good. It's just simply he doesn't hit the ball very hard anymore. He doesn't have a great... He's walked, maybe 2 times now since the All-Star break or whatever it's been, beginning of August.
Yeah, literally.
He's just... we got hoodwinked, I feel like. And I hate to say it because I love Dom, but I think we got hoodwinked.
I don't think so much we got hoodwinked, just that the league has adjusted to Dom, and now it's up to him to take the next step and readjust to the league. And it just comes back to his pitch selection between pitches in the heart of the zone and the shadow of the zone. He just doesn't really swing at the right pitches consistently enough to hit the ball hard. And even the ones he does make contact with, it doesn't seem like he's totally comfortable with either his strategy or his approach or his mindset or just, again, like the way he's attacking the ball. And it's something I really hope changes, because I think Dom Smith's floor is still at least a utility player that we can keep on the bench and a good pinch hitter who could play 2 or 3 times a week. I don't know whether that role is going to be in the outfield because he's just hopeless out there. And for some reason, again, people think that he's improved a lot defensively. Those are the people who've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, fooled. And if you just want to know about the offensive struggles in this game on both sides, because again, the Dodgers didn't really hit the ball out of the yard. They're just really good at getting guys home to score and getting timely hits. Pat Mazika hit the furthest ball in this game at 356 feet. Pat Mazika.
Bushwick Pat Mazika over there.
Bushwick Pat.
Yeah. We can't have him being the guy who hits the ball the furthest in the game for our team. Mazika's a little, mythical, or not mythical. He's a myth legend. A legend. What's the word?
A folk legend?
Folklore. Folk legend. That's what it is. Whatever he is. He's been magical for us, but he cannot have the furthest ball in a game.
I truthfully have been kind of impressed by Mazika this week. He's not really a bad hitter at all. He kind of has that long left-handed swing, and he can get around on the ball a little bit. He has something of a hit tool. I'm not saying he's good by any stretch of the imagination. He should be taking the at-bats from Tomas Nido, James McCann, or even possibly Chance Sisco. But he's not like this Fugazi baseball player.
He's not Rene Rivera.
No, the guy's put in work. He has great numbers in AAA. There's a bat there. There's something.
But it didn't really matter because game 1, Mets don't score. Mets lose this game. That's all I want to talk about there. There's not a lot of positives. We got shut down by the Dodgers bullpen in a game that they basically said, please, win it. Yeah, take it from us.
Ridiculous.
And
this was the game that we circled last episode. It's let's win this one, get to the Dodgers bullpen. Taiwan can be okay. And then that'll give us a good shot for the rest of the series, because we knew that we were facing Walker Buehler and Max Scherzer in the next 2 games, and Walker Buehler just destroyed us. I'm ready to say that he is definitely the most underrated pitcher in baseball, maybe one of the most underrated players. I would make the case that he is top 5 easily right now. Easily.
Yeah, I think he's a top 5 pitcher in the game for sure. He's just constantly been doing it ever since he got called up. He has been very, very good. He has definitely taken over that role, I think, of the ace of the Dodgers from Clayton Kershaw. I think there's a nice passing of the torch there. Mm-hmm. This is what's crazy about this Dodgers team, though. You talk about Walker Buehler being underrated. They're just full of, I feel like, underrated guys. Even though everyone knows they're good, I don't feel like people understand. Trey Turner, probably the most underrated hitter in baseball.
I wrote this 4 times in our notes. He's literally one of the best players in baseball. Yeah. And that really became evident in games 2 and 3 especially. Max Muncy, while he did nothing in the series at all, is incredible.
Quietly awesome.
He's potential MVP.
There was an argument I used to have with people because I used to say I still do. Freddie Freeman's the best first baseman in baseball, but they used to say Max Muncy, and I was like, you're just wrong. Max Muncy's top 3 at first base right now. There's no way you don't put him in that. He's just so good. Justin Turner is still very good. Will Smith is awesome. I mean, this entire team's sick.
Chris Taylor?
Yeah.
I have some notes I want to get to later on about the Dodgers roster construction, how brilliant it is, so I'll save that. But just again, back to Walker Buehler. There was a time 6 or 8 weeks ago when the Dodger season was floundering and they were falling far behind the surging Giants, that Trevor Bauer was on administrative leave for his alleged atrocities. Clayton Kershaw was good, not great. There were a couple other injuries. Julio Urias was very good, but Dustin May was out for the year. There was, I don't know.
David Price was starting a lot of games.
Yeah. I remember there was a period of time where the Dodgers basically only had 3 starting pitchers, and one of them was Walker Buehler, and he just has continued to be an absolute ace. I said it last episode, and it's still true. The man has gone 6 innings in every start this season.
So sick.
Who the fuck does that? He has only given up more than 3 earned runs twice all year. And the last time that happened was May 11th.
Oh, my God.
Like, how could this be? Like, you almost knew there was literally no chance at all for the Mets in this game, the way the offense has been playing, and then bang, like Trey Turner gets the Dodgers on the board in the first inning, and just felt dead. Just felt completely dead. And I think that's every start this year for Carlos Carrasco, where there's been a run scored against him in the first inning.
He's got a little bit of the Steven Matz syndrome, just not ready for the first inning. But again, it's a lot different. Carrasco's coming back from major injury. It's still basically a spring training, so I'll cut him some slack still. And he did settle in.
He settled in really nicely. The way that Carlos Carrasco has pitched after the first inning in his last 3 or 4 starts would be such an amazing development if the Mets were actually good and competing for the playoffs right now, and possibly looking at some type of run in the divisional series. It's just there's something very much there. And this is all great for 2022. And that's going to be a little bit theme of later on this episode. But he's still very actively tinkering with his repertoire. He threw 60% four-seam fastballs this game, which is weird because he was throwing a lot more sinkers his last few starts and a lot more breaking pitches. And then he did throw 18 sliders, which was good for 20-ish% of all the pitches he threw, probably a little bit more because he didn't throw that many. But 11 of those sliders came after the third inning, and he did give up 3 runs in those first 3 innings. So he did find an adjustment, or maybe the slider just didn't feel right pregame, and then it wound up helping him settle through the last couple innings he pitched. And he's finding what works. This guy's a veteran. He has great stuff. He's savvy. And this would all be so much cooler if it meant something real.
Yeah, if the Mets actually had a chance to make the playoffs, it would be sick if Carlos Carrasco was pitching like this, which is a weird sentence to say because I think they're probably, again, we mentioned it last episode, there's a few Mets fans who are probably a little bit skittish right now about what Carrasco is going to end up being for us. But you got to know that it's his spring training, and he's still looking pretty sharp against one of the best teams in baseball.
He's a bona fide 2-3 when he's on. And that's the guy we're going to be able to expect next year, which is great because it almost felt like he was going to have a lost season a month ago.
Yeah. So that's one positive to take out of this game. The other positive, I guess, too, is that Pete Alonso continues to carry this team on his back. James put out a banger tweet from the Mets'd Up Twitter of, the back soreness or whatever, because that's what Pete's doing. Conforto got a single, Pete hit a home run, and then we just didn't hit again until the 8th inning.
Dude, Walker Buehler retired 12 Mets in a row after a Conforto home run, followed by a Pete home run, followed by a Conforto single, all the way until Walker Buehler came out for the 8th inning and gave up a leadoff single to Pat Mazeika. And it was just uncompetitive inning after uncompetitive inning. We had no clue. And again, Walker Buehler is one of the 5 best pitchers in baseball, so you can't really fault the Mets, but just to not even look apt for the challenge is so disappointing.
Yeah, there's not been a lot of fight from the offense. And when there has been fight, it's we're close. You got in scoring position. Not interested. Thank you for playing. And even the inning that we did hit him in the 8th, it was so cheap. It was dinks and doinks, and we didn't deserve the hits and runs that we were getting by any means.
No, it was 3 bullshit hits, 2 that didn't leave the infield, and a walk against Walker Buehler, completely out of gas, mostly out of gas, and Vesia, who's fine. He's okay reliever, but there's no reason to be scared of him. And we only came away with 1 run. J.D. Davis got thrown out the plate.
Buehler got bailed out, though, that inning with the Jeff McNeil call. That was insane.
Right.
That was nuts. Because that ball, Jeff McNeil had a great at-bat. Struggling. Big struggle bus at this time. This is before he got the hits and started to break out of the slump a little bit. The ball is 1.5 inches, 2 inches inside on the plate. McNeil's already running to first because he's ball 4, take your base is loaded. Psych, just kidding. Strike 3, umpire rings him up. Rookie umpire, I think it was Nestor Corteja or Corja or something like that.
Are you confusing it with the Yankees swingman?
No, not Nestor Cortez. It was Nestor something. Neha, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But anyway, he stunk the entire game, stunk this call. McNeil bat flipped, striking out, which is the first time I've ever seen that. He was so mad. He was so hot that he got into the dugout, started screaming. Walker Buehler on the next batter complained about a strike call, and McNeil didn't care about the umpire's call. He screamed at Walker Buehler "Fuck you! You don't get anything!" "Fuck you, Walker!" It was amazing. McNeil, I love his energy. His energy is crazy.
He's a borderline psychopath. I would say he's a crazy person. I do love that. He's a guy you want on your team, not a guy you want to play against. And then came to the 9th inning, and we were just not ready to hit a super average Kenley Jansen.
Jansen's just so not that good anymore.
He's so not that good. And to lose both of these games close was just right down there. So many chances. But this game, not that many chances because, again, Walker Buehler retired 12 Mets in a row. All of the chances came in game 3. It was an absolute barrage of not coming through in clutch situations. The Mets, just a little stat for this game, the Mets had base runners in 8 of the 9 innings. 8 of the 9.
God,
against
why?
Max Scherzer specifically, we had a man on base every single inning.
Why you gotta make me relive this?
Brandon Nimmo led off the game with a double and was not brought around to score. And then immediately, Rich Hill takes the mound. Trey Turner, bang, home run. Albert Pujols, bang, home run. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, we should have known that once Nimmo got in scoring position, there was no chance he was coming home. Absolutely not.
No, none. And, like, he's so incredible. Like, I love Brandon Nimmo so much. He got his OPS over 800 in this game. There's not enough great things we could say about him as a table setter. But I do want to take some time to talk about how the Dodgers have constructed their team, and more specifically, how they were able to get completely free production out of one of the best right-handed hitters of all time in Albert Pujols. This season alone, not even since he joined the Dodgers, this entire season, Albert Pujols has 155 WRC plus against lefties. That means he's 55% better than the average hitter against left-handed pitching. A 962 OPS and 11 home runs in 117 at-bats. That is a home run rate, like home runs per at-bat rate, up there with like Vlad and Shohei, and the best power hitters in baseball.
That's like Pujols' home run rate when he was Albert Pujols. 1 every 10 at-bats. You talk about like Barry Bonds' 72 home run season. Like he won like 1 every 7 at-bats. Like these are crazy numbers to get from a guy who was seemingly a dead duck in Los Angeles with the Angels.
And the Dodgers were completely dunked on all over social media, national sports broadcasts, and everything for bringing on Albert Pujols. Why would you bring on a guy who could barely play defense and not run? But the Dodgers have set up this roster where they are capable of acquiring cheap talent and cheap production, if by any means necessary, just because of how versatile every player in this roster is. Like, we've been saying it repeatedly for a few months now that you're going to be able to sign the cheapest and best replacement level players at the corner spots between outfield and infield. And that's how they were able to get Pujols and even a guy like Billy McKinney. And that's because they have so much depth at second base, shortstop, and center field. There's 6 guys on this team who could play those positions, between Chris Taylor, Max Muncy, AJ Pollock, Cody Bellinger. I feel like I'm forgetting another. Corey Seager, Trey Turner. I think I'm forgetting another outfielder.
You know what's also crazy is Mookie could play second base. He's played second base.
And center field.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, 2 of those guys I mentioned are the Dodgers' natural first basemen between Max Muncy and Cody Bellinger. And they're playing positions like shortstop, second, and third exceedingly well. It's so crazy that they've given themselves enough wiggle room on this roster to be able to make a snap decision, get a guy like Albert Pujols, again, for free, and have him be this good in the small, tiny sample they want to use him in. It is the opposite of the way the Mets have built their team. Because the guys we have in those positions, there's too many of them, and we cannot bring on the extra talent, because we have to get rid of a guy like Billy McKinney. We got a decent prospect for him, but we just don't have the, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the liquidity, not the viscosity, not malleability. I can't find the word here. The fluidity. Mets roster doesn't have any fluidity to be able to find cheap talent like this. And that's one of the biggest problems with this roster construction, that both went completely over our heads preseason.
I feel like we thought we had more fluidity than we really did. I think we expected that Dom Smith and Conforto were going to be capable outfielders, so you didn't really have to worry about filling those positions, even though the Dodgers have way better outfielders and they worried about filling those positions. That was definitely an oversight by the Mets, is the ability for having guys to play basically anywhere, something that we have lauded Jeff McNeil for, the ability to play multiple positions at a pretty decent level. That's something that's going to keep him on a roster. I also think it's worth noting that we talked so much about this in the Giants podcast episode, but how they just go platoon. They'll platoon guys. Yeah. The Dodgers saw what the Angels, because that's a godforsaken organization, they're awful. They saw what the Angels couldn't. Albert Pujols still had value. Like you said, nobody thought that this guy had anything left in the tank, myself included. I thought that Albert Pujols was done. I was like, damn, this sucks. This is the end of Pujols. And they're like, wait, hold on. You can hit left-handed pitching. And not only do you hit it, you destroy it.
He's going to be on the playoff roster.
Yeah.
From being cut by the Angels. And the Angels are another one of those teams who they have like too much fake depth in the corners where they couldn't afford to keep a guy like Pujols even on the bench. And they should be cutting a guy like Pujols and using new talent. Of course, it took them 3 months between releasing Pujols and bringing up their youngsters, so that logic doesn't make sense at all. But this is just another win for a model organization like the Dodgers.
Yep. They just push all the right buttons. They really do. When's the last time that you can remember them making a move and being like, that didn't work out?
Gotta be one from the last few off seasons, right? They had to miss something.
I mean,
I don't know.
Bauer maybe, but
yeah,
it's a little dicey. We're gonna just move on. We're just gonna move on here. Yeah, they're just good. They're a good organization. It showed by having Albert Pujols hit a home run against us, who's 85 years old.
I was just sitting there like, damn it, fuck.
Albert Pujols is so old that it looks like it hurts to run around the bases.
It's kind of funny because Albert Pujols still has the exact same batting stance, which is so much more weight in the middle of his body. So he used to be like really trim and like strong and fit, and he used to stand up there like he used to look so athletic, and now he just has like a gut. His legs look woefully unathletic. He literally is the slowest player in baseball. Every infielder can play on the outfield against him. But it doesn't matter because 1 out of every 11 at-bats against a lefty, because that's the only time he ever plays, it's going over the wall.
Yep, it's unbelievable. Luckily for us, Rich Hill did settle in. I mean,
it was fine.
Gave up the home runs, but he, again, kept us in this game, and especially with the opportunities we were getting against Max Scherzer, would have been nice to help out Rich Hill. He helped us out for sure.
It was great. Throwing 88-mile-an-hour fastballs against the Dodgers and somehow not getting hit was marvelous.
It's kind of like when we played high school baseball. Like you'd play like one town I'll use Linden. They stunk. They were awful at baseball. Their guys would throw like 50, 60 miles an hour. It's like, it's too slow. What do? We don't know how to hit this. It's too slow. Everyone's popping up. It's like what Rich Hill did against the Dodgers, except like 3 of them went for home runs.
Yeah, but it's going to happen. These are very good hitters. But I thought it was also funny that before the game, a lot of Dodgers came over and like really embraced Rich Hill. Clayton Kershaw especially. Like he gave him a massive bear hug. They talked for like 5-10 minutes. Like, Rich Hill is just one of the best clubhouse guys in baseball.
His name's Dick Mountain. I mean, like, if you're gonna put that on the back of your jersey, you're a guy I want to hang out with. Like, you're cool.
100%. Love to crush a couple beers with Rich Hill. But he did do enough for us to win the game, and we couldn't fucking get it done against Max Scherzer. I said it before. Say it again. We had a base runner every single inning, all 5 of the innings against Max Scherzer, every single one.
Stop.
And the Mets were swinging and missing a lot. Like Max Scherzer the stuff was working, but we just kept getting like right to the edge and not being able to go over it. And even with all the base runners we had, our only run was on a fucking solo homer. How could that be? Like, damn it. Fuck.
Yeah.
I felt very defeated after the J.D. Davis strikeout to end the 5th.
He just looked like he had no clue what was happening.
No.
And that's
bases loaded, close game. Scherzer very much on the ropes, and just couldn't do it.
He just took a lot of pitches that were like, really? Like, you're not going to, what are you looking for? He was not looking good this series as well.
Until today.
The other issue here was Miguel Castro came in and was like, I forgot how to pitch.
I kind of like having Miguel Castro on the roster because he keeps everybody on their toes.
He does keep you on your toes. I mean, my dad was so mad watching Miguel Castro pitch. I'm calling you out, Dad. I know you hear this, but I need you to be a little embarrassed here. He said Miguel Castro sucks, which like he does sometimes. That's a correct statement. But then he said he was so mad about how Miguel Castro pitched that he questioned our boy Jeremy Hefner, and I will not allow that. I will not allow that.
Never allowed. Okay, my Jeremy Hefner jersey is going to be here soon. It's been 30 days since I ordered it from China, so hopefully. I really thought we'd have it for a stretch right now. It's going to be a complete joke as I'm in the ballpark drunk in September. But it's the Miguel Castro roller coaster. It's the high leverage reliever roller coaster that the Mets are firmly planted on. Between him, Familia, and May, we have 3 absolute wild cards who can either walk out there and like look like Mariano Rivera or just walk 3 straight batters and call it the night. That's it.
So bad. And even then, even with how bad it was, we still got to have that inning like, okay. Like, it wasn't too bad.
Wasn't.
And Alonso's like, hold on, guys. Let me make this a little bit worse. Let me hit a home run and just make it a little closer so you guys still watch the end of this ball game.
Was that the home run that he like inside outed to right center?
I don't remember. The series is a blur. I like, after every game, I tried to black out from what was happening because it was like pain. It was 3-4 hours of like, again, it's happening again. All I know is Pete hit a home run and I was like, come on, man. I was ready to turn this game off. Like,
base runners 8 of 9 innings. We only scored runs via the homer.
Yep.
That's shocking.
Which is like not Mets baseball because we haven't hit home runs this year. But of course, in this game, it was Mets baseball.
It would have been great if this was Mets baseball. If we were just hitting more home runs all season without getting hit to runners in scoring position, we'd be made in the shade. We'd probably have 5 or 6 more wins. All of these losses were so damn close. We scored 1, 2, and 3 runs in these games, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and every single time we had multiple chances to beat the fucking Dodgers. We couldn't do it.
Well, I think that's the most frustrating part about how we're seeing this team play, and maybe this will build into our talk of 2022 at the end of the podcast here. And that is that we're close. We're hanging with good teams, even despite playing like shit. We're hanging with good teams.
I think that is because the Mets for these last 2 weeks have completely lost all of their star power. Over the last month, just being without Francisco Lindor, and then the last 2 weeks without Javi. And I'll give Javi the star power name tag, even though maybe he doesn't play that way on a day in, day out basis. But he does have that top end of his game where he can get you over a hump when nothing else seems to be working. And this is kind of how the Mets teams were over the last few seasons between 2015 and this offseason, where everything was close and a lot of these guys are good. But, like, where's the juice, as something that we've said a lot of times in this podcast? Where's the fucking juice?
Cespedes in 15.
Yeah, that was the juice.
That was the juice, clearly. And, even in the years after that, we need someone to get us over the hump. We were missing it. We lost a series. 3 losses in a row here.
But we got something to get us over the hump in Game 4, because Javi Baez made his triumphant return and immediately made his impact felt with an RBI double in the top of the first.
And I want to note, really good at bat by him. I like to take shots. Everyone does at Javi Baez's plate approach and his discipline and everything like that. But it was a really good at bat. Worked it 2-0 and was like, I have a pitch to hit. Let me swing. He fouled it back. He missed it or whatever it was. It was right down the middle. But it seemed like there was a thought process there. And then David Price threw like a hanging slider or a changeup, whatever it was. And Javi knocked it for a double over AJ Pollock's head. It was so nice to see. It looked like he had an idea at the plate. Something that not a lot of Mets hitters have been doing.
Yeah, and if you kind of take the way that every Mets hitter has regressed this year, but you apply it to the way Javi Baez approaches his game, he could be one of the best players in baseball.
Yeah, it might be what he needs.
There's no transitive property there. Like, there's no way that actually will happen, or maybe like a 5% chance of it. But it's kind of just ironic that if he would just take like 30% more pitches and actually be guessing, he'd probably be a much better baseball player.
Might even be elite, honestly.
Might even be elite. You know what was elite? That slide in his second double. That was elite.
The slide, that's what he'll do for you. He'll give you a nice tag, a good slide. He is an athlete.
Horrid decision to stretch that into a double.
Yeah, terrible. Not the right idea by any means.
That throws on the money. He's out by 4 steps.
Oh, by a ton. But luckily it worked out. And we hit David Price as we should because he's 36, 37.
It's a corpse of David Price, as I said last episode. He did settle in, actually.
Yeah, because you're still facing the Mets. Let's calm down here. While we scored 3 runs in the first inning, and we haven't seen that in probably a couple months, we are still the Mets. So scoring in multiple innings, that's not a lot. Doesn't happen often.
No, and it felt like the plane was crashing into the mountain in the 6th inning, and it was all going to be over because, as the Mets have done all season long, we had 2nd and 3rd and nobody out, and we found a way not to score a run.
Not interested. We didn't want to do it.
No, and I think there was a very questionable decision by Luis Rojas to not pinch hit for Marcus Stroman with the bases loaded and 2 men out. One that I was fuming mad about at the time.
I thought he should have hit for Stroman.
100%. But he did say after the game that Lugo and Loop were both unavailable. So he basically needed one more inning from Marcus Stroman to just bridge the gap to getting to Familia May Diaz. And it did work out because J.D. Davis bailed him out the next inning. Great game, really saved his series, but I don't know how great I feel with that answer.
I think maybe more of the issue that we should have had with that inning is that Pilar came to the plate and that we didn't pinch hit Conforto or Dom Smith, who were both on the bench.
That I agree with too, which is still another issue I have with Rojas managing that inning.
Yeah, I think that's probably more of the issue because, again, at least he gave us an answer for why Stroman was in, and you can see the process. That's what we need. We need to see the process. But there's no place in God's green earth that Kevin Pilar should be getting in at bat against a right-handed pitcher over Michael Conforto or Dom Smith. I don't care how bad those guys are struggling.
And he actually hit it hard.
Yeah, I don't care.
I mean, it was above 95 miles an hour. But, like, we should look at what the Giants did. I don't care what inning it is. When that starting pitcher that we platoon this lineup for comes out of the game, you put the real players back in the lineup.
Correct. That's the whole point, is that Kevin Pilar, if he's in there because it's against the lefty, as soon as the lefty's out of the game, he's out of the game.
Get him the fuck out.
Yank him.
Yank him by his shirt.
Whatever it takes.
Take his bat and break it.
Just don't allow him to use any bats. Everyone hide their stuff.
Fill his helmet with rosin.
Just poor Kevin Pilar. He's hit some big hits for us. But
I know. I've been picking on Kevin Pilar a lot, but just because, like you said, there's no way that Kevin Pilar could get a hit off Bruce Stargrove.
0% chance.
You'd be crazy. The plane would crash into the mountain in Dodgers World if that happened.
Now, to keep it a little positive, Stroman, still very good, still awesome. He's
fantastic.
He is the only reason we are even slightly maybe in it still.
Oh, no. What a call by your boy that he was the most important player in this team preseason, because he has proven that tenfold, and I truly think he's just hit a new gear. Like, he had more sliders and sinkers this game. I've harped on the repertoire over and over and over and over again. Second time in a row that's happened. Only time he's done it back-to-back starts this year, not have his sinker be his most thrown pitch. And this is the mold of a guy who could actually be worth $20 million a year for 4 or 5 years. I'll say that honestly. Possibly even like 22 or 23, depending on how the market shapes up. Looking through the last 5-10 years of baseball, guys who have thrown tons of sinkers and then learned to throw less have just ascended to unbelievable heights. And all these guys throw much harder than Marcus Stroman, so it's hard to draw an exact parallel. I'm thinking guys like Brandon Woodruff, Joe Musgrove, Frankie Montas, Sandy Alcantara.
Well, even a guy like Corbin Burns, it's not a slider, but it's cutter for him.
Cutter, yeah. And for Stroman, he does throw the cutter, he has a slider, and he has a split change. So there's enough pitches there that he can command, because he still doesn't walk anybody, even though he's throwing, at this point, like almost 60% off-speed pitches. It's marvelous. There is a way that he can become better than he is right now, even at his age, like, because he's never relied on velocity anyway, and he's still in, I would call, sub-peak physical form.
Definitely.
So I don't think that his velocity is going to fall off lower than it is anytime soon. And if you look at the way these guys have manicured their repertoire, Stroman could do something similar. And it would just, I would not really feel great right now with Marcus Stroman not in the Mets next year, which is a 180 from where I was 6 months ago.
No, I agree with you. I think the Mets, if there's a guy that this team needs to re-sign, it's Marcus Stroman. He's got to be a part of this team for the future.
You know, there's another guy who needs a contract this offseason? Brandon fucking Nimmo.
Extend Nimmo.
Extend Nimmo. Give this guy whatever he wants within reason.
Would there be a reason to extend Nimmo right now? Like, I can't imagine he's going to get too much in arbitration because he just lacks counting numbers.
I think he will still do very well in arbitration because his per game numbers and his season-long averages are still so good over time. There's a stat that Tim Britton dropped. Oh, no, Anthony DeComo dropped after the game. 2 of our 3 beat reporters we trust, along with Disha. Shout out the big 3. But the only players who have a higher on-base percentage than Brandon Nimmo over the last 4 seasons.
Can I guess?
4 seasons. Yeah, guess.
Okay, how many players is it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Nimmo's 6th.
Juan Soto.
Yes.
Mookie Betts.
Yes.
Mike Trout.
Yes.
2 more. Joey Votto.
No.
Fuck.
4 seasons. He's had a terrible couple seasons.
Yeah, but he still gets like 350, 360 every year.
The two that you missed are probably the least obvious. One should be more obvious, just it's been a bad 18 months.
Christian Yelich?
And the other guy, yes, the other guy you've already mentioned in this podcast.
I already mentioned him.
Yeah.
Trey Turner?
No. Mentioned
Max
him briefly.
Muncy.
No.
Who is it?
Freddie Freeman.
Oh, yeah, Freddie Freeman's good too.
And he's ahead of guys like Bregman, Jose Ramirez, Trey Turner, Max Muncy, other elite hitters in the game. He's so good. He's so fucking good. He is still injury prone, and he will not outlive that tag until he does. Trey Turner was once injury prone, and he's now healthy as hell. But I think it's like very worth it to extend Brandon Nimmo now, buy out his last 2 years after arbitration, because he debuted late. So if you buy out those years, you're going to get cheaper years between 30 and 32 than you would get if you re-signed him then. But I think it's very worth entering a negotiation with Brandon Nimmo right now. You lock him in to probably a higher arbitration rate, because like you said, he wouldn't do as well as he could if he played 140 games a year. But he's so elite on a per game basis that he has to be the leadoff hitter of this team when he's healthy for the foreseeable future.
Remember when we let off Kevin Pillar on opening day?
I was seething mad.
It's unbelievable how this season has gone. This is such a roller coaster. This game was a roller coaster too. Luckily for us, after Stroman came out of the game, we still had the lead. And Familia, May, and Diaz, lights out, money.
Cash. It was easy.
It was like no stress. It was so nice.
It was weird. Dodgers were almost like, all right, we're on a 10-game winning streak. Let you guys have one.
Also worth noting that we did score more runs after the first inning.
Yes.
We got some interesting hits and runs and scores. And J.D. Davis hit a home run, I believe.
Yeah, that might have been the inside that home run I was thinking of.
I think that's
Pete.
the one.
One of them hit like a bizarre home run to right center. It didn't look like it was going out.
Somebody, whoever it was,
Whatever.
regardless,
Not a big
it's
deal.
minutia at this point. But yeah, J.D. Davis got a nice hit. Mets win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And it still sucks. It's still not good. But damn it, why we're ending on a high note and you're keeping me interested still.
We just have this stretch coming up where we're playing 12 games against the Nationals and the Marlins. And we've seen what the Braves have done over the last 2 weeks against teams like the Orioles, the Nationals, and the Marlins. And you think in the back of your head, like, it's possible that we can do that.
Yeah, the only problem is the Braves also need to lose. That's the issue.
Yeah, Braves have to start losing. The Braves are so good right now. Like, what the fuck?
They are the team that I think everyone thought they were going to see at the beginning of the year. But go figure, it's without Ronald Acuna, who's their best player, arguably.
Watching the Braves these last couple weeks makes me sick to my stomach that the Mets couldn't find a way to sign Charlie Morton in the offseason.
Charlie Morton couldn't trade for Duvall, Jock Peterson, Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario, the litany of outfielders that they have who they got for nothing. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And we were like, Kevin Pillar, Albert Almora Jr., Travis Blankenhorn, that's who we want.
We couldn't break up the chemistry in this clubhouse, Mark. Are you kidding me? These guys are all such good friends.
Hang the banner up. Best chemistry in the league. We know that.
Painful. It's just painful because I don't even know if we play them again.
The Braves?
Yeah.
I really don't know. I have no clue.
I think maybe we go there. Definitely, I don't know. We might play one more series. It wouldn't make sense not to.
No, we have like basically 40 games left. There has to be at least a series against them.
3. Just give me 3.
Yeah, 3 games. But I think speaking on this chemistry as well, I think it's worth noting that Stroman shouted out Mazika after the game for why he pitched so well. Stroman's always a good teammate, always talking highly of his guys. But to shout out Mazika and the work that he's been putting in, I think also is like just a really nice thing to hear.
Yeah, definitely. Mazika was thrown into the fire, having to fly like midday from Syracuse to San Francisco in an emergency situation. He's been fantastic. Just calls a good game. He's better defensively than I thought. I mentioned before that he's not awful.
He's not good at anything, but he's not bad.
He's a fine player to have in your 40-man roster.
Yes.
Francisco as well. I think they both did a very good job this year.
For these scenarios, they're perfect.
Yes.
Mets also made some transaction news, which is interesting. We picked up a reliever, Heath Hembree, who was on the Cincinnati Reds, and he was with the Phillies and Red Sox recently as well. But he came from the Reds, and you got some notes on him. What do you think about Heath Hembree? Because when I see that name, I go, ugh, but like...
Yeah, it's like, ugh, but like at the end of the day, Heath Hembree throws 95 miles an hour with his fastball. He has great ride on it. Some of the highest spin on his 14 fastball in baseball. He has a good slider with lots of break. The Reds told him to throw that slider like 50% of the time rather than the 20-30%. He was throwing it with like the trash organization like the Phillies, so know what they're doing. And he could just probably be better than the worst reliever in our bullpen. So I think this is a very good signing.
Okay. I'm interested to see what Heath Hembree can do. Listen, he can't be that bad, right? Can he be? Can't be worse than...
He can't be pretty bad. He was just cut.
He can't, yeah, but wasn't he pitching well, decent in Cincinnati?
He leads the Reds in saves this season. But he had like 3 awful outings in a row, and they just got him out because they had Michael Lorenzen coming back. They picked up Michael Givens, who's pitched well. Lucas Sims they picked up. Lucas Sims came off the IL, and he's pitched better since then. TJ Antone's coming back soon. So I don't want to say they're flush with bullpen talent. These are not names that strike fear into your boots. But I think they were just like, I would just get rid of Heath Hembree. He's fucking Heath Hembree.
Yeah, I mean, he's better than Jeff Hartlieb, so I'll take that.
That's exactly where we're at, which is fine.
He's supposed to be our last reliever. Now, do we want to go into the question portion here? Because we took some questions from Twitter, and we want to answer them from you guys, give you some shout-outs as well, because we ended up focusing on these games a lot more than we thought, but it's like 10 minutes a game, which is like...
We always do.
It's 10 minutes a game. That's what just happens. Like 10 minutes a game, It's going to come out to 40 minutes here. So let's answer these questions on Twitter. And the first one's coming to us from Top Disney Man, which that's quite the Twitter at. But here we go.
Loyal follower.
Loyal follower. I picked all loyal followers. People who I see are always interacting with us on Twitter. Sorry if you don't have a Twitter, get one. You should. It's 2021. But here we go. Top Disney Man. When Lindor comes back, who's on the bench? And I think this is a fair question. Dom, McNeil, Davis, and VR have to fight for the starting spots in left field and third base. Honestly, I think VR deserves third base right now. What do you think? Who do you think? Because obviously it's going to be Lindor, Javi, Alonso. We have third base open, like he said. And I guess, that last outfield spot, who gets those 2 spots?
And there's also assuming that Conforto's playing again every day, which I think is the right decision. I think it's going to become a lot of a lefty-righty thing, and a lot about who's pitching and what kind of defense we want. If we're facing a left-handed pitcher and Marcus Stroman isn't pitching, then JD Davis will be out there as long as he's hitting. If we want more defense there, it's going to be either VR or McNeil, depending on whether or not we're facing a lefty or righty. And I think it's interesting to note that Jeff McNeil has been working out in the outfield recently.
Played the outfield today, game 4.
There you go. So I think that we're going to start to see him and Dom in direct competition for at-bats, which is something that we expected in April. And now it's going to happen in August. So, I don't know. But it's really going to be a game-by-game, matchup-by-matchup basis. Not like we're going to have set stars in any position, because we'd be stupid to. And a lot of it's going to ride hot hand, whether we need defense, whether we need offense, and whether they're facing a lefty or a righty.
Yep. And also, is Guillermo coming back anytime soon?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything on him, but if he does, that also throws another wrench into it because he's probably going to play a little third base as well.
At least for Marcus Stroman.
Yeah. So it's definitely worth thinking about who's going to be at each spot, but I would think on a given day, it's going to be McNeil and left JD at third. I think that's probably their favorable lineup right now. I don't know. Dom's been so bad.
I think we'll see more VR than you're leading on. I think VR is proven to really be to really have something a lot of guys in this team don't.
That's fair.
And I think that JD has been so hot and cold at the plate, and he's just not a third baseman. He's just really bad there.
Do you agree that it's going to be McNeil over Dom more?
If I was the manager, that'd be my decision.
Okay.
And I think between short-term production, long-term production, and just the concept of seniority, this is like a high school baseball team, but it's true. Like, I think that's McNeil's spot. He's just a much better defensive outfielder than Dom Smith.
He's actually a plus defensive outfielder.
Yeah, if it comes down to those two guys in the outfield, it should be McNeil in spades.
Definitely. No, I agree with you. Okay, next question here coming from at Big Blake Season, which is just an insane Twitter handle. Joust for manager is what his name is.
I think it's general manager.
No, it's just manager now.
Okay.
What would you do with Conforto? I feel like giving him a 1 year, $5 to $10 million deal, prove it. I didn't read that right. I feel like giving him a 1 year, $5 to $10 million prove it deal wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Worst comes to worst, he's a bench bat for 1 year.
I think that the Mets have a very unique opportunity with Michael Conforto right now. I'm in what I'd call the minority of people who still truly believes in Michael Conforto's talent in the short and long term. I just do. I haven't seen anything really about him physically this year that would lead me to believe a guy who is like a very stable 3 to 4 win player who hits between 260 and 280 with good defense and power and great plate discipline will just stop being good altogether. I just can't believe it. And I think that first off, the Mets should 100% extend him the qualifying offer.
I think
There's
that's
no
a
doubt in my
guarantee.
mind that Michael Conforto is worth whatever it will wind up being next year, between $18 and $20 million for 1 year. If someone blows him out of the water with a contract, you get a first-round pick, everyone shakes hands, this was a fun time. But I think that the Mets should really try to undercut Michael Conforto here. Just low-ball the shit out of him. Whatever the opposite of The Godfather, make him an offer he can't refuse. Make him an offer that makes him sick to his stomach, but really logical. Like, that's what you should do. Like, literally, get Scott Boras and his puny little peanut head and put it under your fucking boot and just squish him, because you know that no one's going to offer Malcolm Conforto even probably $100 million this offseason. So give him like 5 for 65 and say, take it or leave it. Lock in generational wealth for you, your family, and everyone you've ever known. Or you could just do the qualifying offer and we'll see if you're good again. You cheap bastard.
I'm in the boat of qualifying offer and smell you later. And I know that's probably not the right way to handle it because, like you said, dive deeper into the numbers and there hasn't been much that's changed, really. But I got such a bad taste in my mouth. A little bit of what have you done for me recently or lately, and it's just nothing.
But I think that even if you're able to get Malcolm Conforto on the books for somewhere between $13 and $19 million a year, for 5 years, like, his game will age very well just because of his plate discipline and the lack of athleticism he's always had.
Here's where I get stuck with this, and I'm going to talk about the New York Yankees here for a little bit because they signed Aaron Hicks to a similar sort of contract that you're talking about here, which is like that 7 for 85, I think they did.
Yeah.
And while in the short term it doesn't look like a lot of money, that's enough though where he has to basically play. And you could be getting better players at that position and spending that money on better players. So that's what scares me about like a long-term deal is while it's not a lot, you're still paying him to maybe be bad.
I'm going to pour a shit ton of cold water on that comparison you just made, because Aaron Hicks, a lot of his value was derived from him being an above-average defensive center fielder. And that was the reason the Yankees did give him that deal, which I believe was in 2018, I want to say, conservatively.
Yeah, I think it's 2019, I think, maybe.
2019 they gave it to him. Check right now. 2019 they gave it to him. So after the 2018 season. And that 2018 season, he played 140 games. He almost walked as much as he struck out. He had 27 home runs, and he played great defense center field. He was worth 5 wins. But that was a pretty big break from everything he's ever done in his career, ever.
No, I get where you're going. Like, they're not the same player, and by no means do I think that.
And Aaron Hicks was always incredibly injury prone. Mike Conforto is pretty stable. He's had a couple freak things here and there, a couple soft tissues, and he had the shoulder thing, which was kind of scary, but it seems that has been put behind him. But I don't know. I just think that Aaron Hicks' floor was so much lower than where Mike Conforto's is right now, especially because you're not relying on good defensive center field. And this will also be dictated by the market and type of contracts that guys like Jorge Soler, Kyle Schwarber, and Tommy Pham are getting. And there's another outfielder out there. Charlie Blackmon. Like these, like seeing what those guys are getting, because I think Michael Conforto is definitely going to have more value for the next 5 years than any of them. And that was why he wouldn't sign an extension going into this year. And thank God that we didn't sign Michael Conforto for $200 million.
Jesus, I'd jump off the roof.
People would be screaming in the streets. I just think it's a really unique opportunity here for like a classic buy low. And to do that internally is super rare. And I think the Mets should jump at the opportunity to extend him an offer again. 5 years, $80 million.
I appreciate you being the optimistic one here with Michael Conforto. The podcast
I think I'm just being
needs
logical.
that.
I think I'm just being logical here. I don't think Michael Conforto would be worth 5 wins ever again. Probably not. But I just think that we could just get a guy who's a good hitter for pretty cheap.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what the Mets do. But qualifying offer, I think we both agree, no doubt, gotta happen.
100%.
Third question here. At across the _ court, is it a possibility to still take the division? We had it at the beginning of August and lost it by mid-August. Anything is possible. And while that is a sentence that is words put together, no.
I'm not going to say like no, because if we go 10-2 against the Nationals and Marlins, we could be like 3 or 4 games back. And then we have a month to play. Then if you're 3 games back with a month to play, anything's possible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Mets can't win the division. I would be shocked.
We're 7 back. We're 7 back.
If we could, the Braves were 7 back like less than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but then I don't think the Braves have 15 games against the Dodgers and Giants left here.
Well, I'm currently pulling up their schedule, so give me a few moments.
Yeah. And then not to mention, we also have to pass the Phillies, who I think the Phillies stink, and we will pass them. But that's still a possibility that if everything stays exactly the same, they are ahead of us.
The Phillies are exactly what they are. They're going to end the season with between 82 and 86 wins.
Yeah.
Which that was always the case. We said that in March, if you would have been listening back then.
Fourth place
that was
Phillies.
always 100% true. Let's look at this Braves schedule here, though. All right. So the Braves actually do have a very difficult schedule coming up.
All right. Tell me what the names are.
Yankees, Giants, Dodgers.
How many games?
That's 8. And then they go to Colorado for 4. The Colorado Rockies, who are winning at almost a 700 clip at home.
The Rockies have 57 wins. The Mets have 61. That's disgusting.
The Braves, similar to us 2 weeks ago, have not played against San Francisco Giants yet. And we've seen how difficult it is to beat that team. They do still have 8, let's see how many here. They do still have 6 remaining games against the Nationals and Marlins, and then a 4-game set out in Arizona, and a series at home against the Rockies.
So we don't play the Braves.
No, we do. We play them 3 games to end the season.
Oh boy.
I know.
Oh boy.
I know, in Atlanta.
Oh boy, might be taking a flight down to Atlanta if we're close.
I'm not telling you it's impossible, but the fact that they have to play the Giants 6 times, the Dodgers 3 times, and take a trip to Colorado, it's not. And they also go to San Diego, who hasn't been very good, but they're also not bad.
Again, this is why you're my yin and yang on this. You're keeping it upbeat. You're keeping us possible. You have hope. I'm hopeless. I'm feeling so down.
The Phillies actually have a far easier schedule, which is funny. But again, we're not going to bring them up because they're going to end the season with 84 wins.
So I have no doubt about that. So.
Yeah, they got Diamondbacks, they got Marlins, they got Nationals. The Braves got some Diamondbacks here too. But they go to Arizona. They are taking a West Coast road trip, San Francisco, Arizona, San Diego, from September 17th to 26th, ahead of a 6-game homestand with the Phillies and Mets to end the season. That I have never seen a West Coast trip that late in the year for a contender, truly.
As we know, MLB scheduling has been god-awful this year. Good, I'm glad the Braves got a shit schedule. About time someone else got a shit sandwich besides us.
So let's see. Maybe the Braves will have an awful West Coast trip just like we did, and we'll be 4 games out with 6 to play, and 3 of them coming against the Braves. Who knows? Stranger things have happened.
There have been stranger things that have happened. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right, but boy, am I down.
I just want to watch some baseball here, man. I want to have some fun here.
Last question we got here from Andres Vasquez, who asked maybe 30 questions on this tweet. So, Andres, I had to pick one because I've never seen someone have the determination. It seems like you might have made this Twitter account to possibly follow us. So I love that. Here you go. Do the Mets need pitching or batting going into the 2022 season more?
I really want to find a polite way to say both. I would think the Mets need a lot. I would like for the Mets, if they don't re-sign, this all depends on the health of Jacob deGrom's right elbow.
Yeah.
Because the Mets rotation could either go from what I think is one of the best in baseball next year to just woefully average.
Yeah.
And it's all going to come on the report of a doctor in the next couple of months. And I don't want this to be a Chris Sale situation where Jacob deGrom's throwing 93 miles an hour in spring training.
No.
and then something catastrophic has to happen then rather than now. I don't want to say these words. As you could tell, I don't want to say any of these things.
Will not say it.
I will not manifest any of these possibilities here, but if Jacob deGrom is healthy, and let's just say that we re-sign Noah Syndergaard and Marcus Stroman, because Noah Syndergaard, we're going to get a discount again because
he's going to take the QO, whatever.
He has a pitch. He'll take the QO, if not a 2-year prove-it deal. 2 years for 40, which I think I would give him in a second. Yeah. You can give Noah Syndergaard 2 years for 40, and I'll cook all his meals. Just throw it in. Just let him know. I will do anything.
I will make his venison for him. I'll hunt the deer myself.
I will string his cleats. I don't care. I will stay in his bat. But if you get him and Stroman back, and then you also have Carrasco, and then you also have
McGill,
Tyler McGill, that is a formidable 5, a very formidable 5. And Taijuan Walker. That is 6 suddenly. As we've learned this year, you need depth. You still have to bring in a guy who can just give you consistent innings, someone in the mold of a Lucchesi who could just do something for a couple times a week, and then that'll be okay. But the Mets need some impact hitters in impact positions. I'm looking at guys like Carlos Correa, Corey Seager. We mentioned before Conforto, Tommy Pham. I don't want Charlie Blackmon because I'm certain he's going to be awful outside the Coors field.
That's a fact.
At this age, yeah. Mark Canha, I like a lot. I've seen people throw around the name Chris Taylor, who is so due to be a disappointment in Queens.
That's what I threw out there.
Same thing with Nick Castellanos. That guy will get swallowed up by Citi Field and hit 16 home runs next season and play awful defense in the outfield after we gave him $30 million. And somewhat fucking A's will take Mike Conforto for $15 million a year and he'll be an all-star for the rest of his life. The Mets just have to get really good players. And I'm really, again, going to look at the Corey Seagers, the Carlos Correas, and the Trevor Story and make one of those guys be your third baseman for the foreseeable future.
Third baseman or second baseman. Depends which way we want to go.
And we can't be holding the feelings of guys like Dominic Smith, I don't know, Jeff McNeil, JD Davis at bay. Jeff McNeil is still going to be a very useful member of this team, as probably will Dominic Smith, if neither of them are traded. Same with JD Davis if he's not in the move. But you got to just think about a guy like McNeil as the super utility guy who finds his way into 100 games, but we're not bookending him for 140.
Yeah, a lot of the guys that we thought were maybe pieces to build around, we have to find them as the guys who are around the other guys that we're building around now. It's no longer building around a core that includes Dom, JD Davis, McNeil, Michael Conforto. They're going to be the accessory pieces to the big guys that we have with Alonso Lindor, Nimmo.
Definitely, and I think that switching those roles might even just take some of the pressure off these guys. Like I think about someone like Jake Cronenworth, who came into this season.
So good, holy shit, by the way.
Fernando Tatis at shortstop, Ha-Sung Kim was signed, Eric Hosmer making a ton of money at first base, Jurickson Profar was re-signed. There's players all over this Padres team. And Jake Cronenworth didn't really have a very obvious role on opening day. And he almost leads the league in plate appearances right now. And that is just the way it's supposed to be. Chris Taylor also, same exact situation. You have to find Jeff McNeil's role within the roles that those teams have found for those players. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. No,
I don't think it is either. I think it would be a very smart way to approach the building of this team, as you applauded the Dodgers for doing so. We got to be smarter. That's just something we're going to have to do here. That's all we got from Twitter. Thank you guys for asking us questions, of course. At Mets'd, you can tweet us anything, and we'll reply to you as quickly as we can. We're pretty active on there. Let's talk about the Giants series that we got here. We're back in Queens, back in New York, and we're facing those damn Giants again because why not play 25 games in a row against the two best teams in the National League?
No, it's a fun scheduling quirk.
Who do we got on the mound? What are our pitching matchups?
The Mets are riding with Tyler McGill on Tuesday evening, Taijuan Walker on Wednesday evening, and Carlos Carrasco on Thursday evening. So I'm going to let this airplane pass.
No flying planes in Utah.
No. Might be a chopper. Do you hear this thing?
Yeah, it's so loud.
I might leave this in. It's kind of funny. In case I don't. Is it circling?
Yeah, what's coming?
Are they coming for us? Oh my god, it's like an army plane.
Really?
That's really cool. Yeah, that thing was zooming.
Well, either something cool or something really bad is happening.
Yeah, there's a massive Air Force base in Utah. I think the biggest in the country.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Utah's just a place I probably won't ever go.
30 miles outside of Salt Lake City. Utah is probably the most beautiful state in the union. Anyone who enjoys nature, to any modicum of a degree, should venture out to Utah because it's fucking beautiful.
I'm a buildings man.
That's okay. Some people are. I am too. I just also like the nature. I'm a both. I don't discriminate with my structures. But again, we got Tyler McGill on Tuesday night, Taijuan Walker on Wednesday night, and got Carlos Carrasco on Thursday night, and that's all good. The Giants have yet to name an announcer for Tuesday. I'm expecting that to be Johnny Cueto, as he's about ready to come off the IL. Alex Wood on Wednesday, the feared soft-tossing lefty, and Kevin Gausman, another shot at him on Thursday. I'm not going to say we're out of any of these games, but, like, this is just the Giants, and they're going to nickel and dime the shit out of us. And we might get Francisco Lindor back, which would be just a massive boost, not only like to our actual gameplay, but to our emotions and the vibes and the juice that we've talked about that we've missed, the 5-win player this team needs. We just fucking win 2 games. I don't fucking care. You want to actually have a season here, win 2 of these games. The Mets are still one of the better teams in baseball at home. Win 2 of these fucking games. Grow some goddamn balls, bear down, grit your teeth, and find a way to win 2 of these games.
If you want to talk about being able to flip the script and completely change an outlook on a player, Francisco Lindor comes back Tuesday, hopefully healthy, because he was supposed to maybe come back today. They said he's going to come back midweek now. If he comes back Tuesday and starts to ball out here the last 30, 40 games of the season, talk about being able to switch the average Mets fan's opinion on a guy. He'll flip it just like that if he can play big here.
I thought his quote the other day was pretty interesting about, in response to Steve Cohen's criticism of
I
the
didn't
team.
hear this.
You didn't hear this?
No, tell me.
Oh, I'll read the quote right now.
This is good for the podcast, because I genuinely also don't know, and I can give you my opinion on Lindor's opinion.
Opinions on opinions. Isn't that what podcasting's all about?
Essentially.
Here's what Lindor said in response to Steve Cohen criticizing the Mets. We haven't really hit all year long. I haven't performed. I haven't done it. Bottom line, I haven't done what I'm here to do when it comes to the offensive side. Defense, they can't talk to me. Base running, they can't talk to me about that either. But offensively, yeah, criticize me. Say whatever. You're right. You're all right. I'm with them. I have not performed.
Hell yeah, I like it.
Accountability, own it. That's the type of shit that you do if you want to indoctrinate yourself to the people in New York. And if he does come back and light the world on fire without the rehab assignment, I don't know. I'll fucking bow down to the guy.
Yeah, that can change everyone's opinion real fucking quick. That is for sure. And I hope he does. We've been big fans of Lindor. We still are. We've been talking about how great and how big of a cog he is to this team. It's one of the big points of this episode. Show it, Francisco. You got 30, 40 games here coming back. You got your boy Javi playing second base. Let's have the Puerto Ricans lead us to the playoffs here.
Let's have the Puerto Ricans lead us to the playoffs.
And Edwin's closing games, another Puerto Rican.
Tomas Neo's the backup catcher.
Yes, backup catcher. Do we have any other Puerto Ricans on this team? Anyway, that's where we'll wrap it up here. Puerto Ricans leading us to the playoffs, hopefully. Thank you guys for listening to episode number 43 of the Mets'd podcast. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram at Mets'd. If you want to watch the video version, YouTube, Mets'd podcast. You will be able to find us there for a full video version of what you're listening to. If you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you follow James on Twitter at Jeter Had No Range. Me, Giraffe Neck Mark with the C, because that's the only way to spell it. That's it for episode number 43 of the Mets'd podcast, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you after this San Francisco Giants series. Peace out.
Thanks, guys.